I can already tell there's going to be some people in the comments who just probably don't agree with what I have to say. But you know what? There's a lot of dudes out there who, are trying to go and get their first kind of pistol, and there's so many options out there, and we're just gonna bring another one here for you guys to see since so many people have been requesting it, and so we're gonna get into that, SAWC and POU and all that good stuff. But at first I have to talk about some of the stuff we got here on the table. So coming out of the rotation, it's hot right now. Is a tried and true classic Glock 22 Gen 4 40 cal. Coming out of the rotation, it's still hot, so I'm going to be careful with it. But it's rocking the Streamlight TLR 1 HL. Awesome light, excellent. Has never let me down. Totally recommended, dudes. If you're looking for a weapon light, absolutely recommended. Mini light review concluded. But I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the other stuff I have on the table here too. So check it out. Mini knife review here for you too. Talk about a 2-for-1. Am I right, dudes? So this is a Boker, excellent quality knife, dudes. This thing has never let me down, has a really cool finish on it. Excellent. If you're looking for a high quality, value knife, can't go wrong with this, dudes. And then of course, mini watch review as well, because you dudes know I like watches. So here we have a classic, a military classic, a Casio that I've had since, basic training. Never let me down, utterly indestructible, sick. Awesome track record. Then, of course, some of the patches we have out here is part of the project, So we got Federated Suns here. Oh yeah, how cool is that, right? Sick. And then, of course, we have a BattleTech miniature here. This is a Zeus from the Lyran Commonwealth, and it's done up there in that urban camouflage, 80-ton assault mech, classic Lyran design, of course. But anyway. A lot of dudes out there have been asking me, hey, what's a really good SFPF 9? And that's that counts for striker fired polymer frame 9mm, right? Because everyone knows the Glock is pretty much the gold standard, but maybe you want something nicer, right? So they look to something that's been sitting on the shelves or whatever, and then HK, I will say Heckler and Koch, they come out with this. HK VP9, dudes. Sick. Awesome ergonomics. Great pistol. We're going to talk a little bit about that here. So I'm just going to leave it on the table there so you guys can enjoy it. But, a lot of dudes out there really complain about, the horrible, kind of really gross trigger on these Glocks here, the Glock brand Glocks. And, maybe they're more discerning gentleman type, so they want a nicer trigger. So they go to something like this, HK VP9, which is very, very similar to a Walther PPQ, which if you watch my other videos, it's the sniper's pistol, man. So, lightweight, SFPF 9 does everything you need it to do. I mean, just look at that. It just gets everything done, right? So, it definitely, in my experience anyways, it has definitely fulfilled the first kind of cool. And I have to say, even though it looks like just any other SFPF 9, it's just, it's H&K, so it also fills that second kind of cool. And if you don't know what first and second kind of cool are, you can check out my other videos as well. But to be brief, first kind of cool is utter just functionality, right? So if it functions, if it does well, if it accomplishes the mission objectives that you're trying to accomplish, that's your first cool. And there's a lot of dudes out there, a lot of guys who, the most important thing is first kind of cool. And I can totally get behind that, because you really, really want a pistol that is going to do what you need it to do. And that's why, pistols like this are so popular and so prevalent, is because they fill that first kind of cool. But, I gotta be honest, the second kind of cool is cool factor, right? So how it looks, how cool it is, right? And I have to say, these VP9s definitely are much cooler than your average blocky, Glock brand Glock, right? So Glocks don't really feel that second kind of cool. I mean, I guess if you really wanted to spend the time and money, you could totally, pay somebody to Cerakote these things and really, spice it up and get aftermarket sights and different grips and magazines and all that kind of stuff to really kind of feel that second kind of cool. But, to start off from the beginning, the VP9 definitely fulfills that second kind of cool just straight out of the box, dudes. It's pretty sick. All right. So, anyway, but yeah, if you're trying to fulfill that first kind of cool, that functionality, that duty piece, right? You have to think about SAWC concerns. And for those people who don't know, SAWC is size and weight constraints, right? So, you could have the best kind of pistol. You could have this huge, blocky, heavy, all metal frame, 1911 or Beretta 92 series. But, the dudes that have been on duty for a long time really know and understand that all of that weight really kind of drags on your belt after a while. So you want something lighter, right? So, you need to think about your size and weight constraints. So SFPF9s are definitely a lighter choice than an all metal frame pistol. And that's what makes these things so popular as they are, because they are lighter, but they still fulfill that first cool, that functionality that we're all looking for. And especially if you're an armed professional out there, first kind of cool is definitely the one that you want to go with. So size and weight constraints, this thing weighs like nowhere near anywhere what a full-size aluminum or metal frame Beretta 92 or a SIG or a 1911. Now this thing is just way lighter and it gets the job done just as well. So I would definitely consider this an SAWC G2G, dudes, and that means it's good to go. So, but the other POUs that you might want to be thinking about is, are you a duty shooter or are you a recreational shooter, right? So recreation, that's people who just, they just want to go out to the range and shoot a few rounds, or, they just, they're not really carrying this for duty, or they're using it for competition or whatever. If you're really going for that POU, this gun can definitely be your do-all kind of pistol. In fact, myself, I have taken the time to replace these the original sights, which are a 3-dot phosphorescent. They're not like true night sights. They don't like illuminate by themselves, but they're of this kind of material where, like, if you hit a light on the back of it, it makes it light up even brighter than regular night sights for about an hour or so. So they're not true night sights, but they can definitely get the job done if that's what you're looking for. But me personally, I replace these with LPA target sights, and you can definitely see their fully adjustable rear, fiber optic front sight, and it's completely blacked out here in the rear. That's the way I like it. I definitely think that's one of the better sight pictures you can get, dudes. And LPA sights are not cheap, but you know what? They definitely pay off, at least for me, and the competitions and things that I've done with this pistol. In fact, this is my competition gun, and it has performed very, very well in that role. So if you're looking to do that for your POU, you're kind of like you do everything gun. If you want to carry this, if you want to use it for competition, this gun, this VP9, can definitely do that for you. But I would be, of course, I need to mention where I got this from. I got this from Gunny's, the Great American Gun Shop. Please be sure to check them out. They definitely help the channel. It's awesome what they do for us. So, how did it shoot, you're asking me? Well, thankfully, I saved a whole bunch of targets, and so let me see if I can orient this correctly here on the camera. Maybe it'll focus. So this is standing at 10 yards, dudes. Wow, look at that. This is just regular American Eagle. I want to say it was 115 grain. Just regular range ammo, I don't quite remember. You know, man, look at that. You can't beat that. Sick. All right, and this I believe was Federal HST, like 124 grain defensive ammo. Look at that, 3 shots all right next to each other at 10 yards standing, dudes. Excellent. And the rest of these, you know, I have little up arrows to indicate if they were good or not. I forget what loads these were. I shot this forever ago, but there you go. Definitely accurate enough to get done what you need to get done. So, but next you're asking probably, you want to know, man, what's the track record of this thing, right? So the track record is kind of limited because this thing really hasn't been out all that long. So the track record is a little unknown versus something like a tried and true Glock here, which has an amazing track record. So there's a lot of dudes out there who are wondering if this thing is really, you know, up to snuff, up to code, up to their standards as an armed professional. Can they really trust this thing? And I would definitely have to say, absolutely yes. Not only is it an H&K, and as you guys know, I've not really had any issues with H&K guns. You know, even though it does lack the track record, this thing has performed just so well for me. And, you know, I'd be safe to say to put it into the Go to War pistol Hall of Famers. Definitely. Absolutely. This pistol will fit into that category. So even though it does have it doesn't quite have a track record, it needs to prove itself. So far, all indications have proven that this thing is definitely Go to War Hall of Fame special. Says me. But I will say, you know, when I was shooting this out in the desert, as everyone knows, the curse of the desert, right? You know, a lot of guns that are even well-made, very expensive guns tend to fail and malfunction out in the desert. But you know what this thing didn't do? It didn't malfunction, dudes. Went out in the desert shooting this thing 10, 25 yards, you know, whatever. It didn't matter. Shooting over, under barricades, all the things I have out there, didn't matter. Curse of the Desert did not affect this. Awesome. Sick. So, getting into my other criteria, so the simplicity, ease of use, right? So considering this is a striker fired pistol, you know, very simple, easy to use, no manual safeties, nothing to fuddle around with, you know, very simple. For the value portion of this though, this thing usually, if you shop around enough, you can probably get a basic VP9 model for about $500. But you know, even for $500, the ergonomics and everything else of this gun just absolutely beats everything else in its class. And I would even say it would beat the tried and true Glock in terms of ergonomics, how it looks, and just sheer value, right? So durability. We don't really have a lot of experience to test the durability, and that kind of goes with the track record, right? If you don't have a big, long track record, it's kind of hard to see exactly, you know, what the durability for this kind of thing is. But needless to say, I've had no issues with this, and I don't expect any because, you know, H&K makes a pretty good product. Firepower. So firepower, that's actually one concern of the VP9 is that this magazine only holds 15 plus 1. Meanwhile, you know, a similarly sized Glock 22 holds 15 plus 1 of 40 cal, you know, and then a Glock 17 by itself holds, you know, 17 plus 1 in roughly the same size as a VP9. So as far as firepower goes, it's pretty disappointing in the sense of it doesn't quite carry as much as, you know, similarly sized pistols out there, which is a little disappointing. But, you know, given all the other factors that go into this pistol, it's only a minor detriment to how this thing actually performs. But there you go. So overall, guys, I gotta say, you know, with all the rage out there concerning SFPF 9s and just how many there are out there and just the different brands and qualities and things like that, I get dudes asking me all the time, hey, what's the best striker fired polymer frame 9mm that I can get? And we live in the golden age of guns where there's just so many options out there that you can get that pretty much all work reliably, all work great, to an extent, more or less. Some are better than others I've seen, but the fact is there's so many choices out there compared to what there used to be. And when you come across something quite like this, HK VP9, this is just such a high value option that has a phenomenal trigger, second only to the PPQ, the Walther PPQ, which I described in my other videos as, the sniper's pistol, right? So definitely something to keep an eye out for if you're looking for high quality, high value SFPF9, for whatever POU that you're trying to fulfill in your system, right? This VP9 can definitely fill the role just as well as any Glock can. But I will still leave the throne to the Glock, the almighty, undefeatable Glock, because the sheer, aftermarket, the track record, the just everything about Glock pistols, you can't go wrong with one of these dudes. But HK VP9, definitely a serious contender, definitely fills the role that PPQ would fill. Absolutely awesome gun, totally recommended, and I would say, totally buy with confidence. If you're unsure about what to get and you're seeing a couple of these things sitting there on the shelf and you can't decide between a Glock or a VP9, honestly, dudes, you can't go wrong with either one. So that's my recommendation for the HK VP9. Buy with confidence. And so that's all I got to say. And we'll see you next time.